My sister sabotaged my dream job, ruined my reputation, and tried to wreck my wedding, with my fiancé on her side. So I took everything back. Hey, I'm Harry, a 31-year-old guy who got engaged to my amazing fiancée, Lily, about 6 months back. We've been a solid couple for 5 years, and I honestly thought we were flipping the page to the best chapter of our lives. We had the wedding all planned out for next month, but things took a turn, and boy, was I wrong about how smooth everything would go. Let me give you a little backstory so you can see how we ended up in this mess. So, I have a younger sister, Jazzy, who's 28 now. We haven't had a chat or any kind of sibling catch-up in over 9 years, and trust me, there are some solid reasons for that. Growing up, Jazzy and I were like oil and water, just didn't mix well. Our parents had this dream of us being the perfect sibling duo, but all we did was fight like cats and dogs. Jazzy was super competitive, always trying to one-up me in everything. I can still remember this one time when I was 10 and she was 7. I had just won a spelling bee at school, and our parents took us out for ice cream to celebrate my little achievement. Instead of being happy for me, Jazzy threw this massive tantrum at the ice cream shop, bawling that it wasn't fair and insisting she was the better speller. She even demanded our parents quiz her right there, making the whole thing super awkward and embarrassing. And that was just the start of it. As we got older, her jealousy got even worse. Anytime I scored an A on a test, she would hit the books until she got an A too. I remember when I won a local art contest at 12, we went out for dinner to celebrate. Rather than sharing in my joy, Jazzy had another meltdown, loudly claiming she could draw better and wanting to show off her sketches right there in the restaurant. This kind of behavior just set the tone for our entire childhood. Whenever I joined any activity, like the basketball team, she'd go full-on obsessive and join too. If I showed interest in a girl in high school, Jazzy would try to buddy up with her or even flirt a bit. It drove me nuts. Home felt more like a never-ending competition than a place to chill and be myself. Our parents really tried to help us get along, even enrolling Jazzy in family therapy when she was 13 and I was 16. But she wasn't having any of it, just sat there with her arms crossed, not saying a word while the therapist tried to reach her. Eventually, the therapist told my parents that without Jazzy's cooperation, there wasn't much more they could do. Things really hit the fan when we were both in our 20s. I had just graduated college and scored my dream job at a top-notch marketing firm, great pay, awesome benefits, and a chance to work on some industry-changing campaigns. Finally felt like all my hard work was paying off. Meanwhile, Jazzy was still in college, totally lost, switching majors left and right, almost hitting academic probation, and struggling to keep up. When I shared my job news at a family dinner, I was expecting at least a congrats from her. Instead, she blew up, calling me a show-off and asking why I couldn't just fail for once so someone else could have the spotlight. Her words hurt, but the real kicker was the anger and jealousy in her eyes. Our parents tried to calm her down, telling her she had her own path to find and that my achievements didn't diminish hers. But she wasn't buying it. Jazzy stormed off, slamming the door hard enough to knock a picture off the wall. That night, I overheard her on the phone, venting to a friend. She was saying stuff like, "He's not going to keep rubbing this in my face, and I'll make sure he gets knocked down a peg or two." I brushed it off as just another one of her dramatic episodes. We'd had plenty of sibling fights over the years, so I figured this was more of the same. But man, was I wrong. Just days before starting my new job, I got an email from the company's HR. They did a surprise background check because of some concerning materials that had apparently come up. Somebody had sent them fake emails and social media profiles under my name, using awful, discriminatory language that painted me as totally unfit for the role. HR told me they were pulling my job offer, and I was left completely shocked and devastated. It didn't take long for me to connect the dots, realizing Jazzy was the only person who knew enough about me to create such personal and damaging stuff. When I confronted her, she acted all innocent and brushed off my accusations like they were nothing. With a cold smile on her face, she finally cracked when I pushed her more. "Maybe you need to know what it's like for once," she whispered, her voice shaking with anger. "You've always been everyone's favorite, the one everyone looks up to. It's about time you got a taste of failure." I was speechless. My own sister had messed up my future out of jealousy and hate. It wasn't just a betrayal, it was like she declared war on me. But then she broke down and confessed everything. She'd made up fake accounts, cooked up emails, and trashed my reputation, all because she wanted to see me fail at something. Her voice was full of this twisted pride like she'd finally won some weird competition. I was devastated. This was beyond typical sibling rivalry, it was like a carefully planned sabotage by my own sister. I told her I never wanted to see or talk to her again and walked out of the house that day. I ended up crashing on a friend's couch while trying to put my life back together. In the years that followed, I lost touch with Jazzy. My parents still saw her from time to time, but they knew better than to bring her up around me. Rebuilding my career was tough. I had to start with a lower paying job and work my way back up, but I eventually made it. Now, I have a great job, supportive friends, and until recently, I had Lily. When I met Lily 5 years ago, it felt like everything was finally falling into place. She was kind, funny, and understanding. On our 4th date, I told her all about Jazzy. She listened and was sympathetic, acknowledging how family stuff can be hard, and she respected my choice to cut ties. I made it clear that Jazzy was not going to be part of my life, especially not at my wedding. At first, Lily seemed to get it. But as we got deeper into wedding planning, her stance shifted. She kept bringing up Jazzy, suggesting that maybe it was time to forgive and forget. Each time, I shut it down. The thought of seeing Jazzy again made me sick. This was supposed to be the happiest day of my life, but having Jazzy there would turn it into a total nightmare. Lily would change the topic for a while, but I could tell she wasn't happy about it. It all came to a head last week when we were finalizing the guest list. Lily brought up Jazzy again, and this time, she wouldn't let it go. I remember the moment when it started falling apart. We were in the living room, the guest list spread out on the coffee table between us. I was already exhausted from a long day at work, and the last thing I wanted was to go over the same argument we'd been having for weeks. But Lily was adamant. "Harry, I really think you should reconsider inviting Jazzy," she said softly, trying to ease me into it. "She's your sister. Don't you think it's time to forgive and move on?" I clenched my jaw. She'd said this before, but it hit differently this time. Maybe it was the hopeful and worried look in her eyes, or maybe I was just tired of shutting her down repeatedly. Either way, her words landed differently that night. "Lily, we've talked about this. It's not happening. Having her there will ruin everything." "You know what she did to me?" Lily sighed, her frustration barely hidden, but said, "It was years ago. People change. Maybe she's different now, maybe she regrets it." I could feel my anger rising. Regrets it? She destroyed my childhood, my career, my reputation. She knew exactly what she was doing. How do you just regret something like that? Her eyes searched mine for any sign I might budge. "I'm not saying what she did was okay. I just think maybe she deserves a chance to make it right." I looked at her, puzzled. "Why are you pushing this? Why does she deserve a chance to be at our wedding?" Lily's face got a bit harder. "Because family is important, Harry. I can't imagine cutting someone off forever." Her words stung more than they should have. "Family? You think this is about some petty grudge? She didn't just steal my toys or read my diary. She sabotaged my entire life. I had to rebuild everything from scratch because of her." She shook her head, her tone getting sharper. "You're being stubborn. You're punishing her for a mistake she made when she was young. That did it." I snapped. "A mistake? Do you know how humiliating it was to lose that job, to have my name dragged through the mud because my sister couldn't handle me doing well? That's not a mistake, Lily. That's cruelty." She crossed her arms and turned away. "Maybe she's grown. Maybe she wants to apologize. And maybe I don't care," I shot back. "She made her choices, and I made mine. I told you this was a boundary for me. If you can't respect that, then maybe we shouldn't be getting married." Lily's eyes widened in shock. I could see the hurt on her face like a shadow. "You're seriously saying that over this?" she blurted out. I replied, "Yes, because it's not just this. It's about trust. You're supposed to be." "Lily, you knew how important this was to me, and still, you kept pushing me." We just sat there, the air heavy with my words. My heart was pounding, reminding me of how far apart we'd drifted from being that happy couple just a few months ago. Lily's voice was soft when she finally spoke. "I thought you'd understand. I thought love was all about forgiveness." I shook my head slightly, my voice almost a whisper. "Love is also about respect, and I can't respect someone who ignores my boundaries." She didn't say anything after that, just sat there with tears in her eyes. After what seemed like forever, she got up and left the room. I was left staring at the guest list, the names blurring together as my eyes filled with tears. The next day, things were so awkward. Lily barely talked to me, and when she did, it was just short and polite. I couldn't stand this cold, distant version of her. It was worse than having a screaming match. It felt like there was this huge wall between us, and neither of us knew how to tear it down. I kept telling myself, it'll all pass. We loved each other so much, and we'd been through so much together. This was just a rough patch, right? But deep down, I knew something had shifted. Trust had been shattered, And once that happens, it's tough to piece things back together. A week later, everything just blew up. I came home late from work, exhausted and drained, to find Lily sitting at the dining table. She looked pale and her hands were shaking. The tension in the room was suffocating. "What's going on?" I asked, unsure of what to expect. She took a deep breath and looked up at me with regret in her eyes. "Harry, I need to tell you something," she said, her voice trembling. My stomach tightened with a horrible feeling. "What's this about?" I asked, trying to keep calm. "I reached out to Jazzy," she whispered, almost too softly to hear. For a second, I thought I'd misheard her. "You what?" I repeated, louder than I intended. "I found her on social media a few months ago," she explained, tears welling up. "I've been talking to her. I just wanted to understand what happened between you two and I invited her to the wedding." It was like the ground disappeared beneath me. I couldn't breathe. My head was spinning with a deafening roar. "You invited her?" My voice was shaking with disbelief. "I'm so sorry," she sobbed. "I thought it was the right thing to do. I thought if she came, maybe you two could finally." "No." I cut her off, my voice loud and shaking with anger. "You went behind my back. You did exactly what I told you not to do. You betrayed me." "Harry, please," she begged, tears streaming down her face. "I love you. I was just trying to help." "Help?" I echoed, my laugh cold and empty. "You think this is helping? You knew how I felt, and you did it anyway. This isn't love, Lily. This is manipulation." She reached for me, but I stepped back, my heart breaking into pieces. "Harry, wait," she cried, her voice cracking. "There's more." I thought she had changed. I really did. But when I spoke to her, I realized I was wrong. She hesitated, as if saying the words hurt. She said, "She called me the new girl and asked how I could be with a loser like you." My chest tightened as I clenched my fists. Of course Jazzy hadn't changed. Of course she'd lash out, even when someone was trying to be friendly. Lily continued, tears running down her cheeks. "That's when I realized you were right all along. I was so wrong to reach out. Harry, I thought I was helping, but I only made things worse. I see now how much she hurt you. I'm so sorry." Her words hung in the air, but they did nothing to ease my pain and sense of betrayal. "You should have trusted me," I said softly but firmly. "You should have listened when I told you what I needed." Lily cried, burying her face in her hands, and I couldn't bring myself to comfort her. My heart was shattered, and all I could think about was how the one person I trusted most went behind my back, thinking she knew better. "If you can't respect me enough to trust my judgment, then we have nothing left," I told her. "Don't say that," she cried. "We can fix this." I shook my head. The pain was too much. "No, Lily. You broke my trust, and without trust, there's nothing left to fix." I turned to leave, each step feeling heavier than the last. The air between us felt final, like a door slamming shut on the life we'd built together. I knew it was over, and it hurt more than I could ever express. The silence in our apartment was suffocating after the fight. I spent the night in the guest room, staring at the ceiling and replaying every word we had said in my head. It felt like I was caught in a storm I couldn't get out of. Sleep was nowhere to be found, just a relentless cycle of anger, betrayal, and heartbreak. When morning finally came, it felt like everything hit me all at once, weighing heavy on my chest. I could hear Lily moving around, packing her things, and I didn't need to ask what she was doing. I already knew. The life we had built together over the past 5 years was falling apart, and somehow we couldn't stop it, thanks to Jazzy. When Lily eventually left the room, suitcase in hand, our eyes met. Her face was streaked with tears, but she looked so determined. "Are you sure this is what you want, Harry?" she asked, her voice barely a whisper. I swallowed hard, my throat tightening. "No, Lily, this isn't what I want, but it's what you've left me with." She nodded and wiped her eyes with the back of her hand. "I never meant to hurt you," she said. "I know," I replied, my voice cracking, "but that doesn't change what happened." We just stood there for a moment, so much unsaid between us. Then she turned and walked out, closing the door behind her. That sound was like a full stop I wasn't ready for. I sank onto the couch, feeling the emptiness of the apartment closing in on me. The quiet was deafening. The next few days were a blur. I had to cancel all the wedding plans, venue, caterers, florist, one call after another, each like another jab to the heart, as if I was dismantling a dream piece by piece. People's reactions were all over the place. My friends tried to be supportive, but some clearly didn't get it. Lily's family? They didn't hold back their rage. Her mom called me all sorts of things, saying I was ruining a beautiful relationship over a petty sibling rivalry. Her brother, who I used to be close with, sent me this long, angry text, saying I was making the biggest mistake of my life. I just felt numb staring at the screen. They didn't know the whole story. They didn't realize how deeply it hurt. My own family chimed in, too. My parents kept calling, leaving voicemails that ranged from pleading to guilt-tripping. My mom's voice was shaky and full of sadness. "Harry, please, this could be a chance to mend things. Don't let this tear everything apart." But I didn't break anything. It was Jazzy and now Lily. The people who were supposed to have my back had crossed lines I couldn't forgive. One night, exhausted from work, I got home to find an email from Jazzy. I almost deleted it right away but couldn't resist seeing what she had to say. The subject line read, "I'm sorry." The email was long, full of apologies and reasons. She explained how she'd been in therapy for years, trying to understand her jealousy and bitterness. She admitted she was wrong but claimed she was a different person now. She wanted to make things right and be my sister again. I just felt tired reading it. Was I supposed to believe that a few years of therapy could take away the pain she caused? Could money undo the damage of losing my dream job, the humiliation, and all the hard work rebuilding my career? The wounds were still raw. I closed the email without replying. That weekend, alone with my thoughts, I kept circling back to Lily. I missed her laughter, the way her eyes lit up when she talked about things she was passionate about. But I couldn't ignore the feeling that the trust we had was shattered. It wasn't just about Jazzy. It was about Lily choosing to brush aside something I'd been clear about and doing the opposite to make a point. I tried to shake off my frustration by playing basketball, pushing myself until my legs burned, focusing on the physical pain instead of the emotional. Afterward, sitting in my car, drenched in sweat and staring out the window, I questioned everything. Was I being too stubborn? Was losing Lily worth it? But every time I thought about reaching out, I remembered that feeling of betrayal, the sharp realization that she hadn't respected my boundaries. No matter how much I loved her, the hurt was too fresh and deep. By Tuesday morning, I felt like a ghost at work. My manager, Ashley, a tough but kind woman, pulled me aside. She'd always been supportive, and today was no different. "Are you doing okay?" she asked, her voice softer than usual. I forced a smile. "I'm getting there." She nodded, looking at me thoughtfully. "Sometimes standing your ground is the hardest thing to do, but it's worth it." Her words stuck with me. I spent the rest of the day lost in my work, letting the rhythm of it distract me from the chaos in my head. By the time I got home, the apartment felt emptier than ever. But, for the first time in days, I felt a bit of something else, a tiny glimmer of something. So there I was, feeling a tiny bit of calm because I'd made the right choice. It didn't ease the pain, but at least I hadn't lied to myself. That night, I deleted Jazz's email. I didn't need to read it again, I already knew what it was about. Life carried on afterward, but I felt stuck. My apartment, once full of warmth and laughter, felt cold and empty without Lily. Her side of the closet was bare, and the bathroom shelves looked half empty. I kept expecting to see her or hear her voice, only to remember she was gone. I threw myself into work, hoping the endless hours and tough tasks would keep my mind occupied. But no matter how busy I got, the heaviness, the betrayal, the lost trust, the future I'd envisioned, was always there like a shadow. Then one night, my phone buzzed. It was my folks. For a second, I thought about letting it ring, but something made me pick up. "Hey, Mom," I said, trying to sound normal. "Harry," she said, sounding exhausted. "Can you come for dinner this weekend? We need to talk." "I don't think that's a good idea," I replied, worn out. But she insisted, "Please, it's important." Against my better judgment, I agreed. Maybe deep down, I hoped they'd finally understand my side, but I braced myself for disappointment. Saturday rolled around, and I drove to my parents' place with nerves tying my stomach in knots. The house I grew up in looked different, sadness had tainted the memories. As I climbed the steps, I took a deep breath. My mom opened the door and smiled strangely, pulling me into a hug that felt more like a plea. Inside, something felt off, like a storm was brewing. And then I saw Jazzy at the dining table, her eyes meeting mine, full of what seemed like regret. A wave of anger hit me. "What is she doing here?" I asked, my voice shaky. "Harry, please," my dad said, looking pained. "We just want to help you make peace." "What's wrong with you all?" I asked, feeling betrayed. "You ambushed me." My mom's eyes welled up. "We thought if you two just talked, you could heal," she said. I shook my head, fists clenched. "You don't get it, you never have." Jazzy tried to speak. "Harry, wait," she said, her voice trembling. I just want to apologize. Her words were just noise to me. I turned to my parents, bitterness rising. You're trying to fix something that's beyond repair. You can't force this, I said firmly. My dad's voice cracked. We just want our family back. This is your family now, I replied. Where trust doesn't matter. Where betrayal is brushed aside. With that, I headed to the door, feeling the weight of finality. I told you where I stood. If you can't respect that, then I don't know what else to say. I walked out, my heart pounding, my mom's sobs echoing behind me. I didn't look back. The cold night air hit my face, and I felt clearer. The lines were drawn, I wouldn't cross theirs, and they wouldn't cross mine. I sat in my car for a long time before heading home, ignoring the buzzing phone filled with texts from my parents, Jazzy, and Lily, probably all talking about the night. I wasn't ready to respond or explain myself again. When I got home, the emptiness felt different, like I had room to breathe. I was done clinging to relationships that didn't fit anymore. The next few days were spent in quiet reflection, knowing I'd burned bridges that couldn't be rebuilt, yet feeling oddly free. I didn't have to forgive someone who hadn't earned it. Then, one night, I decided to meet up with some friends. They'd been worried about me, so I figured it was time to step out of the shadows. We hit a chill downtown bar with soft music and easy conversations. As I sipped my drink, listening to their laughter, I realized I didn't have to feel alone. Just because my engagement didn't work out didn't mean life was over. Things move on, and so could I. As we were leaving, my friend Sam patted my shoulder. You did the right thing, man, he said. It takes guts to stand up for yourself. I nodded, and for the first time in a while, a faint smile crossed my face. I used to think that standing up for myself came at a high cost, but losing who I was would have been way worse. The next morning, I went for a walk on the beach. The waves were gently kissing the shore, and the early sunlight turned the sea into this gorgeous golden color. I took a big, deep breath, letting that salty air fill my lungs. Yeah, there was still some sadness and loss hanging around, but there was also this new sense of hope. I was finally free to shape a life where my boundaries mattered, and I didn't have to compromise my peace for someone else's idea of family. I had no clue what the future held, but for the first time in a while, I was okay with that. I'd take it step by step. Days turned into weeks, and I found myself settling into a new groove. I wasn't the same person I was before the breakup, but I was starting to feel more grounded. There was this unexpected calm in the quiet, focusing just on me. It felt like I was slowly building my life from the ground up, not for anyone else, just for me. I spent more time with friends who truly accepted me. We'd hike along hidden trails by the cliffs, chill around bonfires on cold nights, and share stories that reminded me what real connections were like. These friendships were real, without any expectations or disappointments. They gave me the strength to move forward. Work was steady. I threw myself into tasks, tackling challenges that helped me grow. My manager, Denise, noticed a change in me. You've been doing great, Harry, she said after a meeting, smiling. I can see how focused you are. Keep it up. Her words made me feel proud, reassuring me that despite everything, I was still capable and determined. My past hadn't broken me, it had made me stronger. One weekend, I decided to declutter my apartment. It was time to let go of things tying me to the past. As I rummaged through the drawers and closets, I found mementos from my time with Lily, a stray earring, an old movie ticket, and a half-done grocery list in her handwriting. Every item was a memory, a look at what we had. But instead of getting lost in nostalgia, I let them go. I put them in a box, sealed it, and put it aside. Letting go didn't mean forgetting, it meant choosing to move forward without the weight of what could have been. The apartment felt different, cleaner and lighter. It was truly my space. I rearranged the furniture, added some plants, and hung new art. These small changes had a big impact. The space now looked like a reflection of who I am today, not who I used to be. While making dinner one night, a new hobby I was getting better at, my phone buzzed. It was a text from my mom, "We miss you. Please reach out when you're ready." I stared at the message for a while. The hurt from the family dinner ambush was still there, but I knew my parents weren't bad people. They just didn't understand how deep my pain was or the boundaries I needed to stay okay. I didn't reply right away. I needed more time, and that was all right. Healing is something you can't rush. A few weeks later, at a rooftop party downtown, I met someone new. Her name was Emily. She had this easy smile and a way of making conversation flow without any pressure. We talked about everything, our favorite books, road trips, and the best barbecue joints in Texas. She didn't dig into my past or ask questions I wasn't ready to tackle. She was just enjoying the moment with me, and that felt refreshing. I didn't have to explain myself or defend my boundaries. I could just be. As the sunset painted the sky orange and purple, Emily smiled at me. "Feel like grabbing a milkshake?" she asked. I laughed. "Sure, as long as I don't have to sing karaoke," she chuckled, and I felt this warmth I hadn't felt in a long time. It wasn't the thrill of falling in love, it was the comfort of knowing new beginnings were possible. That night, as I walked back into my apartment, I realized something. I wasn't completely over what had happened. Jazz's betrayal and Lily's broken trust left marks, but they didn't define me. They were just a part of my story. I felt stronger now, more aware of what I needed and deserved. Standing by the window, looking out at the Austin skyline, I realized that the world was still turning, and so was I. The road ahead was uncertain, but I wasn't scared. I had boundaries, self-confidence, and a solid understanding of who I was. Standing firm can sometimes mean losing people you love, but in the end, it's also about finding yourself. Thanks for sticking around till the end. If you enjoyed these stories, make sure to subscribe and hit the bell so you don't miss the next drama-filled episode.